just want to do a brief introduction to Mace first. As Brian said, I'm International Contracting Sustainability Lead for Mace, also for here in Ireland. And I'm going to be speaking to you today about turning the grey of construction that we may know of to green. So just quickly, just the agenda that I'm going to get through in the 15-16 minutes that I have. A brief introduction to Mace Construction and Consultancy, International Contracting, what sustainability strategy is for Mace, our responsible sourcing, employment affairs, which is a big thing for international contracting, and our best practice in corporate responsibility. So just a few key figures on Mace. For those of you who may or may not be aware, we are a global firm that both works in construction and consultancy with over 5,000 employees around the world. Our turnover in 2016 was just under 2 billion and we were founded in 1990. Further on from that, to the right hand side, you'll see that our turnover is, like I said, just under 2 billion, with construction, which is what I lead on in international contracting in Ireland, just short of 1.7 billion of that. So it's quite big what we have in over our projects around the world. That's our presence there. You can see that we're in New York to London to Hong Kong, and then in the last few years, which I'll go through, we've had a good presence in Ireland as well, mainly in the East Coast. So, for those of you who may or may not know, we actually constructed Terminal 2 for Dublin Airport. Recently this year as well, we've also constructed the headquarters for Microsoft in Leopardstown, and we're working with Irish Water in project management in the consultancy side here in Dublin. But probably what you may or may not know is our biggest project, and the biggest construction project in Ireland, is the construction of this data centre for one of the leading IT global companies. Bringing us on to international, where we're also constructing another one for IT. It's the same client in Denmark and Amsterdam, which brings me to international contracting and the construction of hyperscale data centres in the most sustainable way. Just briefly, it's just a slide to give you an idea of what it is that we do with international contracting with Mace as a construction business. We define, design, procure, deliver and prove. Our data centres, two of which I've just shown you there on the screen, are LEED design. So we have a good team for LEED Gold standards is what we're aiming for here in Ireland also. Sustainability at Mace. Just some key figures. 2016, this is for all of construction, so globally what we have around the world. Responsible sourcing, as you can see, with FSC, carbon emissions, water used and biodiversity. We pride ourselves on responsible certification and sourcing of materials of the projects that we build at Mace. 100% of our timber was sourced from certified responsible sourcing in 2016, similar for plasterboard, and over 95% for our rebar and steel. In 2017, roll forward 1 year, and we had our 2022 Responsible Business Strategy was launched from the very top CEO of Mace, where we have taken all the aspects that we had before in our previous years with carbon reporting, water management, energy, but we've maintained it into 3 pillars. These 3, the first being at the top, well-being and opportunity, which I'll talk you through. Second being air pollution and clean technology, and the third being resource efficiency. Let me start at resource efficiency. Big one that I'm sure everybody's aware of with data centres, carbon, water and waste management. We have new carbon targets, more stringent than we ever have had, which for me as data centre is one of my main challenges that I have in international construction. But what we've done, Mace driving forward best practice and taking into consideration what the United Nations has done as well, and all our sustainable development goals that we have around the world. We've just committed to RE100. Now, I'm not too sure whether everybody is aware of RE100, but basically we've combined and we've aligned with the biggest global companies around the world to commit to renewable energy. We're sourcing all of our power 100% by a certain date. So what does this mean for Mace and my data centres that I'm looking at? It means that we have to source 100% electricity from renewable sources by 2022, in line with our responsible sourcing strategy. We are the first construction company to actually sign up to this, so it is quite a task. What this affects is that any of our what we are powering on our sites through potentially just diesel now needs to be sourced through a renewable source, and then also any carbon emissions that we may have missed, this needs to be offset. Quality of environment, our second pillar. This is looking at clean technology in the areas that our projects are formed, what our emissions are and how we can reduce that. For those of you who also work in UK projects and who may be aware of clean construction, City Can in London had set out the non-road mobile machinery and reduction of emissions. Our project here in Ireland is one of the first to have a register of non-road mobile machinery and set targets for our reduction of NOx emissions and CO2 emissions on the machinery we use. Just a brief synopsis for those of you who may or may not know what an emission stage number is. It's this number here at the top. It's different to a vehicle number that you'll have on your site. But as you can see, they range from tier 1 to tier 5. Tier 1 is the lowest that it's a high emitter of NOx. So 5 to 8 grams of NOx emissions from every kilowatt that you have on the vehicle. Through to tier 5, where you see a serious reduction of 0.2 to 0.5 grams of NOx. What I can safely say, and thankfully for our sites and what we've had buy-in from our supply chain, is that we have over 70 to 80% of all our vehicles on our sites are at least tier 3 and above, which means if you take into account the NOx emissions that we're reducing and that we're striving towards having 90%, we're committing to a clean technology and environment. What does it mean in the future? What are we striving towards? There's an example on the left-hand side of some of our green buildings and our temporary accommodation that we have. So you'll see, actually, just on the break, I was speaking to some outdoor planting that you can see on your temporary accommodation. There's a stand out there. That's where it's striving towards. So we have these in our temporary accommodation offices that we can then bring. So we're taking in the bad emissions and releasing the good ones. If the future allows, will we have diesel electric hybrids on our sites and that we have our NRMM and our equipment? It's all what we are for, that potentially reducing emissions at any stage. And thirdly, bringing into wellbeing and opportunity. I know that Lorraine had touched on this before as well. This is probably an area that is new to construction, something that's been overlooked in 10, 15 years, but something that we, going through from wellbeing and workspace, which I'll talk you through to responsible procurement, which, as Brian said, is key in construction. What we've done and what we've kicked off this year is having wellbeing in our offices. So currently in our site in Ireland, but also more in Denmark, we are exemplar offices for our office and wellbeing, where we've used the 5 key elements that we've found through studies with our employees out on site, but also in the offices, what they found to make their day that little bit easier. So when they go home, they kind of feel a little bit lighter. So we have maximum lighting, we have open spaces, so there's actually a wellbeing area in our temporary accommodation in Dublin that you can just go in, take 5 minutes. If you just need a break, it's a non-laptop area, so it just means that you can have that. Healthy eating, we always have healthy eating options, promoting fitness and support and helplines, especially with health and mental awareness. This year as well, we also launched with MACE for all our projects around the UK and globally our own Wellbeing Week, and each project has their own Wellbeing Ambassador, where we're promoting the 5 steps of connect, keep learning, be active, give and take notice. However, to give you the idea of the largest construction project that we have here in Ireland, this is a schematic drawing that we have, but to give you an idea, we have a total site area of 290 acres, which is over 4.2 Dublin zoos. A length of of our data centre building is 377 metres, which is approximately 5 solar strikes of All-Star Austin Gleeson. We have over 41.5 million litres of water in our ponds that we have out there, which is nearly 73 to 74 million pints of Guinness. 11,800 tonnes of primary steel, which is nearly 2 Eiffel Towers, and over 1,700 people on site, which is nearly enough to fill 3 Boeing 747s. How do you maintain sustainability on a site like that is definitely my objective. What I've done here as well, and what we have on our sites as well, is our Sustainability Contractor of the Month. This is something that I launched, and it's proved very successful in construction of data centres, in that our strategy that I'm talking you through now as well, I actually have a league for all our contractors that we have here on site. They're awarded a plaque for that, and it's something that they're actually very proud of being able to take home and take to their head offices as well. Responsible sourcing, one of our key risks that we have in having international contracting, but also with data centres where our materials can come from all over the world. Firstly, let me just give you a key point about MACE. Like I said, we have a very high achievement of responsible sourcing of our products that we used. This year we were awarded our 3 trees rating from WWF, the Worldwide Fund for Nature, where it achieves standard of 70% certified sustainable wood and all our policy and control systems in place. Responsible procurement, this is something that's also what all our contractors buy into when they work with MACE. We have responsible procurement of all our products. FSC, PEFC, through our concrete with Beth, and also through to our steel as well and rebar. Aligning with what we expect, but also aligning with what our clients expect from us. Our latest embarkment that we've had is a combat against modern slavery in construction, something which international is very apt, and also with data centres, and that is SEDEX. I'm not too sure whether anybody is aware of SEDEX, but so just for the audience here, it's Supplier Ethical Data Exchange. And what this is basically it's a database that all of our supply chain and contractors sign up to. On that, they disclose information to us in and where they get their materials from. So it's given us clarity in where exactly they are getting it through to their subcontractors in each of these 5 different areas. So we look at the portfolio of the contractor through to the labour, so it gives us an idea of what kind of working conditions that they have, hours, where the materials are actually procured from, health and safety, their business ethics, and then of course environment as well, where we have water, pollution, what kind of area they are involved in. Modern slavery, for those of you who may or may not know, it is still worldwide, and it's not just in the undeveloped part of the world. In UK itself, in 2013, there was over 13,000 people were combated with modern slavery. Us as a business, as Mace, we have a responsibility to embrace this and actually have the responsibility to track where our materials are coming from. To give you an example with data centres, HVACs which are found in our data centres, the key risk countries and where these materials come from are from Russia, China and India. Key risks that can be involved with that with child labour, working conditions, discrimination and human rights. SEDEX has given us an opportunity that we've had the buy-in from our supply chain. Here in Ireland, over 90% of our supply chain have bought into this, and we can see where their materials are coming from. Striving forward for going forward next year's, it will be reaching 100%. People. People are our biggest asset, but they're also our biggest risk. Working internationally, we strive to maintain our standards that we so easily achieve in Ireland and the UK, but bringing it to different levels of Denmark and the Netherlands. How do we do that? We have a unique employment affairs unit. They're currently based in Denmark, where they work in aligning what we have as our expectations, our policies, our certifications, in alignment with what we have found potentially in the variations in country. What we have is that our team works in assurance and reporting with our local government and stakeholders to make sure that what we are expecting and what we want to achieve is possible. Take, for example, our biggest risk probably in Denmark. For those of you who may or may not know, Denmark probably has the lowest unemployment figure that you have in Europe, potentially worldwide, of 4%. As Mace, we want to locally employ and be engaged with our stakeholders and the local people living in the area. How did we do this, and how were we able to get our team involved? The Local Employment Affairs Unit was able to talk to municipality and do upskilling of the local trades. This has worked out very, very well, from taking in 300 CVs at the start, looking at apprenticeships, looking at graduate programmes, where we've now at a point that we have over 50% local workforce. Was towards the end of 2017, but now moving into the new year, we have 76.4% from Denmark, which means that we're able to prove to our client, to the locality, that we're coming in, yes, we're doing a big construction project, but we've actually been able to employ the local as well and upskill them through different platforms that we've had, making it local, that we've had our objectives, that we set up a development programme and a tender process. So the tender process is that we give the ability for the different local subcontractors to buy in, and if we see a skills need, we will actually train them up in that area so that they can work on our project. And then this finally brings me on to best practice and corporate responsibility at Mace. A huge part of our well-being and our corporate responsibility that we have. What we do is that we look at our reporting system. It's embedded in our reporting system. So give you an idea, this is our project that we have here in Dublin. We mark our projects on standard that we have at the top. If you see the yellow section, that's compliance. So that's looking at our energy, water, carbon reporting. That is what some companies may have just as their basics. We then set targets on our responsible sourcing that I've just talked you through. Our volunteering, which I'll be talking you through as well. Pollution, where I spoke about our emission index. But then also responsible sourcing. Responsible sourcing, like I said, in our 2022 strategy is key for Mace, and we want to be able to have that in each of our projects. Here in Ireland, that is something that we have full points on through our well-being, our ethical sourcing from the supply chain here that we have in Dublin. and also internationally. So as I have a target, and we have a target as a business unit international to strive for the top marks in our sustainability. Top of the league, for responsible sourcing, embracing it, and what we're able to do is to have that internationally as well as in Ireland. How we push ourselves even further, just not internally but externally. In the last 2 years in international contracting, we've engaged with the British Safety Council an external audit in environmental management. This is quite an intense audit that can take place at your sites. It's obviously external, not within Mace, and we were awarded in 2016 the 5-star environmental management, where in this year we went on to win the Globe of Honour for our site here in Ireland. 2017, we were also awarded this 5-star environmental management for each of our 3 data centre sites in Ireland, in Amsterdam, and also in Denmark, which now gives me the opportunity to apply for the Globe of Honour as well for these 3 sites in 2018. Similarly, there's quite a number of different awards that we've had. We have our Consider Construction team that we've done gold in all of our UK sites. Women in construction is something that I'm involved in here in Ireland, and is something that I would like to see in each of our sites internationally also. And finally, it brings me on to the last part of my presentation, where we're looking at our volunteering and corporate social responsibility that Mace has. It's something that we pride ourselves on, both globally and here in Irish. In Global 2016, some facts and figures for you as well. It's nearly 18,500 hours that our Mace employees have volunteered. We have a number of charities that we partner through in the UK. I'll talk you through the ones that we have in Ireland. We do an amount of pro bono work where we do different installations for charities that simply don't have the funding to do it themselves. But let's bring it back to Ireland, something that's probably key to my heart and something that I've been working on since I joined Mace in 2016. Bardstown. Bardstown is a charity that we've partnered with in Ireland for our data centre, and what we've been giving to throughout since the construction of the project. One of the key things that our team really enjoys, and what we've been able to give back, is our volunteering days. So over 80% of our team of 80 people here in Ireland have been able to use their volunteering day, which is a paid volunteering day that they go down to Bardstown and actually do some pro bono works. As you can see, that's just some examples there. We actually had one after Storm Ophelia down in Bardstown, where we had a group of around 15 men, so they were absolutely delighted. And then secondly, what we have is some pro bono works that we do also down at Bardstown. We've done upgrade works with electrical systems, fit out of bedrooms, and this year's 2017 saw the launch of our first annual charity fundraiser. So far, we've raised over 140,000 for Bardstown, where on that one night alone, we raised 110,000 at the event which we had in Dublin. And finally, just to talk through our pro bono works that we have in Ireland as well, we have engaged with a local charity in Louth in Carlingford, where we built all pro bono, no expense to this respite centre. We built a sensory garden through our supply chain, who have been engaged and are more than happy and are delighted to do this. But this whole area was brown greenfield site that they didn't have the funding at all, and what we've done is inputted different sensory instruments for the kids on site. Sustainability, like I said, this is a huge part. This is a document that we would send across both internally and externally on our sustainability. It's a focus on sustainability. This does bring me to the end of my presentation. So I just want to say thank you for listening.